That mummy is Ötzi the Iceman. He lived between 3400 and 3100 BCE and laid frozen in the Ötztal Italian Alps for 5,000 years until he was found by two German hikers in 1991. Brad Pitt's got a tattoo of him. He's Europe's oldest known natural mummy, and we know tons of cool things about him. He was 5'5", 45 years old, and had 61 tattoos. We believe he was murdered because they found an arrow in his shoulder that would have been a fatal wound. He had the blood of at least 4 people on his gear. 1 on his knife, 2 different people's blood on a single arrowhead, and 1 on his coat. From the contents in his stomach, we know that his last meal was wheat, ibex meat, and fat, possibly from dairy even though he was lactose intolerant. He had Lyme disease and had markers for heart disease. He had tons of cool gear, including the sweet copper axe that was made 1,000 years before we previously thought people in the area had been making copper axes. He had a wooden frame backpack, a bow, arrows, and quiver. A leather fanny pack, a coat, a cloak, and a bearskin cap with a chin strap. He had a cloak made of woven grass, and a coat, a belt, a loincloth, and shoes that were all made of different skins. His shoes were waterproof with bearskin soles that were wide, probably for walking across the snow. And he had a fanny pack on his belt that was full of useful things, like a scraper, a drill, a flint flake, a bone awl, and dried fungus. His longbow was unfinished. He had 14 arrows in his quiver, and 2 of them were tipped with fletching, but the rest of them were unfinished. He had a dagger, and his antler tool was probably for sharpening arrowheads. He had berries, 2 birch baskets, and over a dozen plants on him. He had a string with 2 different types of fungus on it. One was probably an anti-parasitic, and the other was probably part of a complex fire-lighting toolkit, because he also had pyrite and flint. His 61 tattoos consist of 91 groups of black lines. Microscopic examination of samples collected from the tattoos showed that they were pigments made of ash and soot. The majority of the tattoos are quite dark, which suggests that he had gotten tattoos repeatedly in the same spots. One prominent theory is that the tattoos were a sort of pain relief treatment, like an acupuncture of sorts. And if that's the case, it predates the earliest known use of acupuncture 2,000 years later in China. And the majority of his tattoos are in places that regularly cause people pain, like the lower back, wrists, ankles, and knees. Ultimately, we'll never really know what the purpose of the tats were, or if they really did have a purpose. I've always wanted to get some of the same tattoos as Ötzi.